Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the maintenance report on his computer screen. The Titan research station had been his home for 3 years now, and he knew every beep, hum, and vibration the old facility made. As the head communications engineer, he spent most of his days making sure the station could talk to Earth and the other colonies scattered across the solar system. It was good work, important work, but it could get lonely out here on the edge of known space. The morning started like any other until his supervisor knocked on his door. Commander Kate Phillips looked stressed, which was never a good sign. She held a data pad in one hand and ran her other hand through her graying hair. "Jake, we have a problem," she said without greeting. "The housing system just crashed. Half the living quarters are flooded from a burst pipe, and the other half are dealing with electrical issues. We need to shuffle everyone around until repairs are finished." Jake nodded and saved his work. "Where do you need me to move?" "That's the thing," Kate said, looking uncomfortable. "We're putting you with our visiting researcher, the Alteran scientist who arrived last month. Her name is Zara." Jake felt his stomach drop. He had heard about the alien scientist but had never met her. The Alterans were humanity's first contact with intelligent alien life, and their arrival had changed everything. Most humans had only seen them in news broadcasts and scientific papers. The idea of living with one made him nervous. "Is that safe?" Jake asked. "I mean, do we know enough about their biology to share living space?" Kate smiled for the first time that morning. "And the medical team cleared it?" "Alterans breathe the same air we do, eat similar food, and their body temperature is close to ours. She's been living here for a month without any problems. Besides, she specifically requested human interaction for her research." "What kind of research?" "Something about biological compatibility between our species. She's studying how humans and Alterans might work together on long space missions in colony ships. Your engineering background might actually be helpful." To her, Jake packed his belongings into 2 small bags. Everything he owned fit easily into the standard issue containers. Life on a space station taught you to live with less. As he walked through the corridors toward his new quarters, he passed other station personnel dealing with the housing crisis. Some were sleeping in the common areas, others were doubling up in already cramped spaces. At least he would have a proper room. The quarters were in the research section of the station, away from the main living areas. Jake had never been to this part of the facility before. The walls were cleaner here, and the air smelled different. Less recycled somehow. He found the door marked with his new room number and pressed the entry button. The door slid open to reveal a space twice as large as his old quarters. The main room had a small kitchen area, a table with 2 chairs, and a couch facing a large viewing window that looked out into space. 2 bedroom doors led off from the main area. Jake noticed immediately that one bedroom door was closed, while the other stood open and empty. "You must be Jake Morrison." The voice came from behind him. Jake turned around and saw his new roommate for the first time. Zara was tall, about 6 feet, with a build that seemed both strong and graceful. Her skin had a pale blue tint that seemed to shimmer slightly under the station's lights. Her hair was white-silver and fell to her shoulders in straight lines. Her eyes were larger than a human's and colored a deep purple that seemed to hold flecks of silver. She wore a simple gray jumpsuit similar to what the human researchers wore, but it fit her differently. Her proportions were close to human, but not quite the same. Her limbs were slightly longer, her shoulders a bit broader. Despite the differences, Jake found her strikingly beautiful in an otherworldly way. "Yes, that's me," Jake said, trying not to stare. "You're Zara." "I am." She moved with a fluid grace that reminded Jake of a dancer. "I have arranged the larger bedroom for you. I require less space for my personal items." "That's very kind of you, but I don't want to take your space." "It is logical. You are larger than I am, and human males need more territory for comfort. I have observed this in my research." Jake wasn't sure how to respond to that. He set his bags down and looked around the room again. "This is really nice. Much better than my old place." Zara nodded. "The research quarters are designed for longer stays. I will be here for 6 months, possibly longer if my work requires it. What exactly are you studying? For the first time, Zara seemed to show some emotion. Her eyes brightened slightly, and Jake noticed that the shimmer in her skin became more pronounced. I am investigating the biological compatibility between humans and Alterans. My people are interested in joint missions to new worlds, but we must understand how our species can work together in confined spaces for extended periods. That sounds fascinating. Are you finding what you expected? Humans are more adaptable than we anticipated, Zara said. Your ability to form social bonds with different species is remarkable. Most of my people believed such connections would be impossible. Jake found himself relaxing. Despite her alien appearance, Zara seemed genuinely interested in understanding. Humans, her way of speaking was formal but not unfriendly. I hope I can help with your research, Jake said. I've never lived with an alien before, so this will be new for both of us. I believe it will be beneficial for both of our species to learn from this arrangement, Zara replied. I have prepared a schedule for shared use of the common areas. I wake early to begin my laboratory work, so the kitchen will be available for your morning routine. Jake smiled. I'm usually up early too. I like to check the communication arrays before the day shift starts. We might both be morning people. Morning people, Zara repeated, as if testing the phrase. Yes, I believe that describes us both. Over. The next few days, Jake settled into his new routine. He would wake before dawn, make coffee, and check his equipment status reports. Zara would already be awake, moving quietly through the common area on her way to the research labs. She always nodded politely when she saw him, but they rarely spoke beyond simple greetings. Jake found himself curious about his new roommate. She was nothing like the cold, calculating aliens he had seen in old science fiction movies. She seemed thoughtful and careful, always considering her words before speaking. When she did speak, her voice had a musical quality that Jake found pleasant. He noticed small things about her habits. She preferred her food warmer than humans typically did. She spent a lot of time looking out the viewing window at the stars, sometimes for hours at a time. Her work schedule was longer than most humans could manage, but she never seemed tired. The most interesting thing Jake observed was how Zara's skin patterns would change slightly throughout the day. The shimmer would become more pronounced when she was focused on her work, and it would fade when she was relaxed. He wondered if it was related to her emotions or just a normal biological function. By the end of the first week, Jake had grown comfortable with the arrangement. Zara was a quiet, respectful roommate who kept to herself and never made a mess. She seemed genuinely interested in learning about human behavior, often asking him questions about his work or life on the station. Jake had no idea that everything was about to change. Jake woke up at his usual time, but something felt different. The air in the quarters seemed warmer than normal, and he could hear movement in the common area. He checked his clock and saw it was 3 a.m. Zara was usually asleep. By now, following her strict schedule, he pulled on his clothes and stepped out of his bedroom. The sight that greeted him made him stop in his tracks. Zara was pacing back and forth across the small living space, her movements sharp and agitated. Her skin was glowing much brighter than he had ever seen before, with patterns of light racing across her arms and face like lightning. She looked up when she heard his door open, and Jake saw that her purple eyes were wide with what looked like fear. Are you okay? Jake asked, keeping his voice gentle. He had never seen Zara show this much emotion before. I am fine, Zara said quickly, but her voice shook. Please return to your sleep. I did not mean to wake you. Jake noticed that she was sweating despite the cool air in the room. Her usually perfect posture was tense, and she kept wrapping her arms around herself as if she was cold. You don't look fine. Are you sick? Should I call the medical bay? No, Zara said, her voice sharp. Human medicine cannot help with this. I will manage on my own. She turned away from him and continued pacing. Jake watched her for a moment, unsure of what to do. He had grown to care about his alien roommate over the past 3 weeks. She was quiet and polite, always respectful of his space and routine. Seeing her in distress made him want to help. Zara, please talk to me, Jake said. We're roommates. If something is wrong, I want to help." Zara stopped pacing and looked at him. For a moment, Jake thought she might open up to him. Then she shook her head and headed toward her bedroom door. "I cannot explain. It is too complicated. Please forget what you have seen." But Jake couldn't forget. Over the next 2 days, Zara's behavior became more erratic. She would disappear for hours at a time, only to return looking exhausted and more agitated than before. She stopped eating the meals she usually prepared with scientific precision. Her skin patterns became chaotic, flashing and dimming at random intervals. Jake tried to give her space, but he was worried. He had never seen anything like this before. When he asked other station personnel about Alteran biology, they knew, even less than he did. The research files were classified, and the medical team had only basic information about alien physiology on the third night. Jake woke to the sound of something crashing in the common area. He jumped out of bed and ran to investigate. He found Zara sitting on the floor beside an overturned chair, her whole body shaking. Her skin was blazing with light, so bright that Jake had to squint to look at her. "Zara, what's happening to you?" Jake knelt down beside her, careful not to get too close. "Please let me help." Zara looked up at him, and Jake saw tears running down her face. "I cannot tell you. It is too shameful. My people would be horrified if they knew I was in this situation." "What situation?" Jake asked gently. "Whatever it is, we can figure it out together." Zara was quiet for a long moment. Jake could hear her breathing, fast and shallow. Finally, she spoke in a voice so quiet he had to lean closer to hear her. "I am experiencing the resonance," she said. "It is something that happens to my people every few years. I calculated the timing wrong when I planned this mission. I thought I would be home before it began." Jake had never heard the word before. "What is the resonance?" "It is difficult to explain in human terms," Zara said, still shaking. "Your people have biological cycles too, but they are not as intense as ours. The resonance affects our entire nervous system. Our body temperature rises, our brain chemistry changes, and we need certain things to survive the process." "What kind of things?" Zara looked away from him. "Close contact with another being, physical and emotional connection. Without it, the resonance can cause permanent damage to our neural pathways. Some Alterans have died from going through it alone." Jake felt his heart sink. "Are you saying you could die if you don't get help?" "Not die, but the damage would be severe. I would lose my ability to form emotional bonds, and my cognitive function would be impaired. I would no longer be able to do my research or connect with others." Jake sat down on the floor beside her, careful to maintain some distance. "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" "We could have contacted your people or found some way to help." "Because the resonance is deeply personal in my culture," Zara said, her voice full of shame. "It is not something we discuss with outsiders, and the help I need requires close physical contact with another being. Traditionally, it would be another Alteran, but there are none here." "What about humans?" Jake asked. "Could a human help you?" Zara looked at him with surprise. "That is what my research has been investigating. The biological compatibility between our species. I have found evidence that humans might be able to provide the neural synchronization I need, but I have never tested it." Jake felt a strange mix of emotions. He was scared for Zara, but also honored that she had trusted him enough to explain what was happening. "What would you need me to do?" "I cannot ask that of you," Zara said quickly. "The process is intense and could last for days. It would require you to stay very close to me, to synchronize your breathing and heartbeat with mine. Your nervous system would need to provide stability for mine while it rebalances itself." "That doesn't sound so bad," Jake said. "I mean, if it could save your life, why wouldn't I help?" Zara stared at him. "You do not understand. The resonance affects every part of my being. I will not be myself during this time. I may say things or behave in ways that are inappropriate. The physical contact required is very intimate, even though it is not romantic in nature." Jake thought about it for a moment. He had come to respect and care for Zara during their time as roommates. She was intelligent, kind, and genuinely interested in understanding humanity. The idea of her suffering permanent damage because she was too embarrassed to ask for help seemed wrong to him. "Zara, look at me," Jake said. She raised her eyes to meet his. "We're friends, right? And friends help each other when they're in trouble. I don't care if it's embarrassing or uncomfortable. If you need my help to get through this, then you have it." Zara's glowing skin patterns shifted, becoming less chaotic and more rhythmic. "You would do that for me? Even though we have only known each other for 3 weeks?" "Of course I would," Jake said. "Besides, think of it as part of your research. You're studying human-Alterran compatibility, right? This could give you data you never expected to get." For the first time in days, Zara smiled. It was a small smile, but it was genuine. "You are very kind, Jake Morrison. I hope I do not make you regret this decision." "You won't," Jake said, though. He had no idea what he was agreeing to. "Just tell me what you need me to do." Zara took a deep breath and began to explain the process. As she spoke, Jake realized that the next few days would change both of their lives in ways he couldn't imagine. But looking at his alien roommate, frightened and vulnerable, he knew he had made the right choice. Jake spent the next morning in the station's research library, his eyes burning from staring at screens for hours. He had pulled up every file about Alterran biology that his security clearance allowed him to access. Most of it was basic information about their physiology, diet, and environmental needs. Nothing about the resonance or anything like it. He did find some interesting details about Alterran nervous systems. Their neural pathways were more complex than humans, with additional connections that allowed them to sense biorhythms and emotional states in other beings. This explained why Zara could read human behavior so well and why she needed another being's presence to stabilize her own system. What worried Jake was how little humans actually knew about their alien allies. The first contact had happened only 5 years ago, and most of the research focused on technology exchange and political relations. The deeper biological and psychological aspects of Alterran life remained largely mysterious. When Jake returned to their quarters, he found Zara sitting on the couch, staring out the viewing window at the stars. She looked calmer than she had the night before, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. Her skin patterns were still more active than usual, pulsing gently with soft blue light. "How are you feeling?" Jake asked, settling into the chair across from her. "Better, now that I have told you the truth," Zara said. "The shame was making everything worse. My people believe that hiding problems only makes them grow stronger," Jake nodded. "I did some research this morning. I found some information about Alterran nervous systems, but nothing specific about the resonance. Can you tell me more about what I need to do?" Zara turned to face him, and Jake saw that her eyes were clearer than they had been in days. "The process is called neural synchronization. Your nervous system needs to provide a stable rhythm that mine can match. It requires physical contact and emotional openness between us." "What kind of physical contact?" "Skin-to-skin contact works best. The nerve endings in our hands and arms are most sensitive to biorhythms. We would need to hold hands or touch arms while we breathe together. The contact helps our nervous systems communicate." Jake felt some relief. That didn't sound as intimate as he had feared. And the emotional openness? "That is harder to explain," Zara said. "During the resonance, my emotional barriers become very weak. I may share thoughts and feelings that I normally keep private. For the synchronization to work, you would need to be open with me as well. If you try to hide your emotions, my system will sense the dishonesty and reject the connection. So we need to be completely honest with each other?" "Yes, it may be uncomfortable at times, but it is necessary for the process to work." Jake thought about this. He had always been a private person, keeping his feelings to himself. The idea of opening up emotionally to someone he barely knew was scary. But looking at Zara, seeing the trust in her eyes, he knew he had to try. "Okay," Jake said. "When do we start?" "Soon. The resonance is building stronger each day. By tomorrow, I will need your help to manage it." That evening, Jake and Zara sat together on the couch, practicing the synchronization technique. Zara showed him how to match his breathing to hers, how to slow his heartbeat to match the rhythm of her light patterns. At first it felt awkward and forced, but gradually Jake began to sense the connection between them. "Good," Zara said softly. "I can feel your nervous system responding to mine. Your biorhythm is naturally steady, which will help stabilize mine when the resonance peaks." Jake noticed that when they synchronized their breathing, Zara's skin patterns became more regular and less chaotic. The wild flashing settled into a gentle, rhythmic glow. "Does this feel better for you?" "Much better. It is like having an anchor in a storm. Your presence gives my system something stable to hold on to." As they practiced, Jake found himself relaxing. The process was strangely soothing, like a form of meditation. He could feel Zara's tension easing as their biorhythms aligned. When she smiled at him, her whole face seemed to light up with more than just her natural glow. "Jake," Zara said quietly, "I want you to know that I'm grateful for your help. Most beings would not offer to help a stranger with something so personal." "You're not a stranger anymore," Jake replied. "We're roommates. And after tonight, I think we're going to know each other a lot better." Zara laughed, a sound like silver bells. "That is certainly true. The resonance leaves very little room for privacy." The next morning, Jake woke to find Zara already awake and clearly in distress. Her skin was blazing with light and she was breathing in short, quick gasps. When she saw him, she reached out her hand. "It is time," she said. "The resonance has reached the critical phase." "I need your help now." Jake took her hand immediately. Her skin was hot to the touch, and he could feel a strange tingling sensation where their skin met. "What do you need me to do?" "Stay close to me. Match my breathing. Do not let go of my hand, no matter what happens." Jake settled beside her on the couch, maintaining the hand contact. He began to breathe in sync with her, just as they had practiced. Almost immediately, he felt a strange sensation, as if his nervous system was connecting with hers. The tingling spread up his arm and through his chest. "That's it," Zara said, her voice sounding different somehow. "I can feel your stability. It is helping already." For the next several hours, Jake stayed beside Zara, maintaining the physical contact and breathing synchronization. It was exhausting work. His nervous system was working overtime to provide the stability she needed. He felt like he was carrying some of her emotional and physical burden. As the day progressed, Jake began to understand what Zara had meant about emotional openness. He could sense her feelings as clearly as if they were his own. Her fear, her relief, her gratitude, and something else that felt like deep affection. In return, he found himself sharing his own emotions with her, his care for her well-being, his amazement at the connection between them. "This is incredible," Jake said during one of their brief rest periods. "I can actually feel what you're feeling." "And I can feel your kindness," Zara replied. "Your willingness to help me, even though you were scared, it gives me strength." By evening, both of them were exhausted, but the process was clearly working. Zara's skin patterns had settled into a steady, gentle glow, and her breathing was regular and calm. Jake felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that he had helped her through the worst part of her ordeal. "How much longer will this take?" Jake asked. 2 more days, perhaps 3, Zara said. "But the hardest part is over." "Thanks to you. I will recover completely." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "We'll get through this together." As they settled in for the night, still maintaining their physical connection, Jake realized that something had changed between them. The synchronization process had created a bond that went beyond friendship. He could still sense Zara's emotions, and he knew she could sense his. They were connected now in a way that few beings ever experienced. Looking at his alien roommate, Jake knew that their lives would never be the same. Jake opened his eyes to find Zara watching him with a gentle expression. They were lying on the couch together, her hands still clasped in his. Sunlight from the viewing window cast soft patterns across her glowing skin. He had slept better than he had in weeks, despite the unusual circumstances. "Good morning," Zara said softly. "How do you feel?" Jake took a moment to assess himself. His body felt heavy and tired, but there was also a strange sense of completeness, as if something inside him had been missing and was now whole. Different, he said honestly. Like I'm more connected to everything around me. That is normal, Zara explained. The neural synchronization affects both participants. You have been sharing some of my enhanced nervous system functions. The effects will fade gradually over the next few days. Jake sat up slowly, still holding her hand. He noticed that her skin patterns were much calmer now, pulsing with a steady rhythm that matched his heartbeat. You look better, less stressed. I feel much better. Your stability has helped my system find its natural rhythm again. But we must continue the process for 2 more days to ensure complete recovery. As they prepared breakfast together, Jake marveled at how natural it felt to stay close to Zara when they were more than a few feet apart. He could sense her discomfort and she seemed to automatically move closer to him. It was as if they had become 2 parts of a single system. Tell me about your home planet, Jake said as they ate. The synchronization process seemed to make conversation easier, more natural. He found himself genuinely curious about her life. Before the station, Zara's eyes brightened, and her skin patterns shifted to warmer colors. Altair Prime is very different from Earth. We have 3 moons, and they create tides that cover and uncover vast crystal formations. The crystals sing when the water flows over them, creating music that can be heard across entire continents. That sounds beautiful, Jake said. Do you miss it? Very much. But I knew when I accepted this mission that I would be away from home for a long time. The research I'm doing here could change how our species interact with each other. It is worth the sacrifice. Jake felt a flutter of sadness from Zara through their connection. He squeezed her hand gently. What made you want to study humans? Curiosity, mostly. When first contact happened, my people were amazed by how quickly humans adapted to the idea of alien life. Most species take generations to accept such a massive change to their understanding of the universe. Humans did it in a matter of months. We're pretty adaptable, Jake agreed. Though I think some of us are better at it than others. You're one of the better ones, Zara said, smiling. Most beings would not offer to help a stranger with something as personal as the resonance. Your willingness to connect with me, despite not knowing what it would cost you, shows remarkable courage. Jake felt warmth spread through his chest at her words. Through their connection, he could sense that she truly meant what she said. I'm glad I could help. And honestly, this whole experience has been amazing. I've learned more about myself in the past few days than I have in years. As the day progressed, Jake and Zara fell into a comfortable routine. They would maintain physical contact while Jake worked on his engineering reports and Zara analyzed her research data. The synchronization allowed them to work in perfect harmony, each anticipating the other's needs. During their lunch break, Zara asked about Jake's life before the station. What made you want to work in space? It must be lonely being so far from your home planet, Jake considered the question. Through their connection, he could sense that Zara was genuinely interested, not just making conversation. I've always been fascinated by the idea of exploration. Earth felt too small for me, too predictable. I wanted to be part of something bigger, something that would help humanity reach for the stars. And your family? Do they understand your choice? Jake felt a familiar pang of sadness. My parents died when I was young. I don't have any siblings. The station crew has become my family over the years. He felt Zara's empathy wash over him through their connection. She squeezed his hand gently. I'm sorry for your loss, but I understand the appeal of chosen family. Sometimes the bonds we create ourselves are stronger than those we are born with. What about you? Do you have family on Altair Prime? I have a research partner named Kale who I work with closely. We have been together for many years studying interspecies relations. He was not happy when I volunteered for this mission, but he understood the importance of the work. Jake felt a strange twinge of something that might have been jealousy. Research partner? Is that like a romantic relationship? Zara looked surprised by the question. Not exactly. Altaran relationships are different from human ones. We form bonds based on intellectual compatibility and shared purpose rather than physical attraction alone. Kale and I complement each other well professionally, but our bond is not what humans would call romantic. I see, and you've never experienced romantic love? Not in the way humans understand it. The resonance creates the deepest bonds my people typically experience. What we are sharing now is actually more intimate than most Alteran relationships. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Really? Yes, the neural synchronization creates a connection that goes beyond normal emotional bonding. We are sharing not just thoughts and feelings, but the very rhythms of our nervous systems. It is quite profound. As evening approached, Jake noticed that their synchronization had become even deeper. He could sense Zara's emotions before she expressed them, and she seemed to know what he was thinking before he spoke. When she was tired, he felt the exhaustion in his own body. When he was amused by something, she would smile even before he laughed. "This is incredible," Jake said as they settled on the couch for the night. "I can feel everything you feel." I can feel your strength supporting me," Zara replied. "Your determination to help me even when you are exhausted. Your genuine care for my well-being. It is more than I expected from this experience." Jake looked into her purple eyes, seeing his own reflection there. "I care about you too, Zara, more than I thought possible for someone I've only known for a few weeks." "The synchronization makes it difficult to hide our true feelings," Zara said softly. "I can sense that your care for me goes deeper than friendship." Jake felt his cheeks grow warm. "Is that a problem?" "No, because I feel the same way about you. The connection we have created is unlike anything I have experienced before. It is changing how I understand relationships between different species." As they lay down together, maintaining their physical connection, Jake realized that he was falling in love with his alien roommate. The thought should have scared him, but instead it filled him with a sense of rightness. Through their neural link, he could feel that Zara was experiencing something similar. "What happens when the resonance ends?" Jake asked quietly. "I do not know," Zara admitted. "The connection may fade, or it may remain in some form. This is uncharted territory for both of our species." Jake held her hand tighter. "Whatever happens, I'm glad we went through this together." "As am I," Zara whispered, and Jake felt her. Contentment and affection flow through their bond like warm sunlight. They fell asleep connected, their dreams blending together in ways that neither of them had ever experienced before. Jake woke to the sensation of Zara's skin growing warmer against his hand. The final phase of the resonance had begun during the night, and her nervous system was working to complete the rebalancing process. Her skin patterns were more intense than he had ever seen them, cascading waves of light that pulsed from her core outward to her extremities. "Jake," Zara whispered, her voice strained. "This is the most critical part. My system needs maximum stability now. Do not let go of me, no matter what happens." Jake tightened his grip on her hand and pressed his other palm against her arm. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." The next several hours tested both of them beyond anything they had experienced. Zara's body temperature spiked so high that Jake worried she might be seriously injured, but when he tried to call for medical help, she begged him not to. Her nervous system was hypersensitive now, and the presence of anyone else would disrupt the delicate synchronization they had built. Jake felt every wave of heat, every spike of neural activity that coursed through Zara's system. His own nervous system worked overtime to provide the steady rhythm she needed. Sweat poured down his face, and his muscles ached from maintaining the constant contact, but he never let go. "I can feel your determination," Zara gasped during one particularly intense wave. "Your refusal to give up. It gives me strength to continue." "We're almost through this," Jake said, though he had no idea if that was true. "Stay with me, Zara." As the hours passed, Jake began to understand the true depth of their connection. He could feel not just Zara's current emotions, but glimpses of her memories and experiences. He saw flashes of her home planet, her research with Cal, her nervousness when she first arrived at the station. In return, he sensed that she was experiencing his own memories, his childhood, his dreams of exploring space, his growing feelings for her. "I can see your life," Zara whispered. Your loneliness before you came to the station, your dedication to your work, your capacity for love that you keep hidden from others. I can see yours too, Jake replied. Your curiosity about other species. Your fear that you might fail in your research. Your hope that humans and Alterans can build something beautiful together. Near midday, something shifted. Zara's chaotic light patterns suddenly synchronized into a single, steady pulse that matched Jake's heartbeat exactly. The overwhelming heat began to subside, and her breathing grew regular and calm. Jake felt a sense of completion wash over both of them. It is finished, Zara said, opening her eyes and looking at Jake with wonder. The resonance is complete. My nervous system has found its new equilibrium. Jake felt relief flood through him, followed immediately by concern. How do you feel? Are you okay? I feel perfect, Zara said, sitting up slowly. Better than perfect. The synchronization was more successful than I had hoped. My neural pathways are not just restored, they are enhanced. Jake noticed that he could still sense Zara's emotions, though not as intensely as during the peak of the resonance. I can still feel our connection. Is that normal? I do not know. This is the first time an Alteran has completed the resonance with a human partner. We may have created something entirely new. Over the next few days, Jake and Zara discovered the extent of their lasting bond. They could sense each other's emotional states from across the station. When one of them was stressed or happy, the other would feel an echo of that emotion. They found themselves thinking in similar patterns, finishing each other's sentences, and working together with an efficiency that amazed their colleagues. I need to document this, Zara said one evening as they sat together, still preferring to maintain some physical contact. The implications for future human-Alteran cooperation are enormous. If others can form bonds like ours, it could revolutionize how our species work together. What will you tell your people? Jake asked. Will they understand what happened between us? I will tell them the truth. That I found something unexpected in my research. That humans are capable of deeper connections with other species than we ever imagined. That you risked your own well-being to help me without asking for anything in return. Jake felt a flutter of anxiety. What happens now? Your mission here is supposed to end in a few months. Zara was quiet for a moment, and Jake could sense her internal conflict through their bond. I have been thinking about that. My research is far from complete, especially now that we have discovered this new form of interspecies bonding. I could request an extension, perhaps even a permanent assignment. Would you want that? Jake asked, hardly daring to hope. Yes, Zara said simply. What we have created together is too important to abandon, and She paused, searching for the right words. I love you, Jake Morrison. Not just because of the neural bond, but because of who you are. Your kindness, your courage, your willingness to embrace the unknown. Jake felt his heart soar. I love you too, Zara. I think I started falling for you before the resonance even began. Then we must find a way to stay together. Perhaps I could become a permanent researcher here, or you could apply for a position on an exploration vessel where my skills would be useful. Jake liked the sound of that. Actually, I've been thinking about applying for the new deep space exploration program. They're looking for teams of humans and aliens to crew the next generation of colony ships. With our unique bond, we might be exactly what they need. Zara's skin patterns brightened with excitement. That would be perfect. We could continue my research while exploring new worlds together. Our bond could serve as a model for future mixed crews. A few weeks later, Jake and Zara submitted their joint application to the Deep Space Exploration Program. Their unique neural synchronization and proven ability to work together made them ideal candidates for the experimental human-Alteran partnership missions. Commander Phillips was amazed when she learned about their bond. You two have accomplished something that xenobiologists thought was impossible. The program directors are very interested in studying your connection and seeing if it can be replicated with other teams. As they waited for approval of their application, Jake and Zara continued to explore their enhanced connection. They found that they could work together with incredible efficiency, each anticipating the other's thoughts and needs. Their bond had made them into something greater than the sum of their parts. "Do you ever regret what happened?" Jake asked one evening as they watched the stars through their viewing window. "Never," Zara replied immediately. "The resonance brought us together in a way that changed both of our lives for the better. I came here to study human-Alterran compatibility, and I discovered that our species are more compatible than anyone imagined. I feel like the luckiest human in the galaxy," Jake said, squeezing her hand. "I got the most beautiful alien roommate, helped save her life, and fell in love with her all at the same time." Zara laughed, the sound like music in the quiet room. "And I discovered that humans are capable of a depth of love and loyalty that my people never suspected. You have shown me that true partnership between our species is not just possible, but inevitable." 6 months later, Jake and Zara received approval for their deep space assignment. They would be part of the crew of a new exploration vessel, tasked with finding suitable planets for joint human-Alterran colonies. Their bond would serve as both a research subject and a practical tool for building bridges between their species. As they prepared to leave Titan Research Station, Jake reflected on how much his life had changed. He had started as a lonely engineer maintaining communication systems, and now he was part of something that could reshape the future of interspecies relations. "Ready for our next adventure?" Zara asked, taking his hand as they boarded the transport. That would take them to their new ship. "With you, I'm ready for anything," Jake replied, feeling their bond pulse with shared excitement and love. Together, they walked toward a future that neither of their species had ever imagined possible.